Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock. They're powerful, alright. We cover them all on your favorite part. So many movies we can choose. Even when you win, you lose. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other. Peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades. Movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. Action packed from dusk till dawn. We have deep thoughts and questions free. Come share our love of the movies we see. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast.
Yes, it's a 30-something movie podcast. I am your host, John Reed. This time around, we're talking, things are going to get dangerous. Pat, are you ready for things to get dangerous?
I am ready for things to get dangerous.
Yeah. Pat, I don't know if you know this, but I was being kind of introspective today, and as I walked through the valley of the shadow of death, I actually took a look at my life, and I realized there was nothing left, and I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. I never crossed a man that didn't deserve it, though. I mean, you know me. Be treated like a punk. You know that's unheard of. I don't know. I was thinking about that today for some reason.
There it is, man.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
Yeah.
It's a good tune. I think it's super popular. Yeah.
Well, between
popular.
Coolio and Weird Al, both excellent songs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And it was all, I mean, was it a Stevie Wonder tune that was originally sampled for that?
You know what, you say that, and I meant to go do a little. I did not do a Shirley podcast level of research on the song.
Yeah,
who does?
Shirley podcast, shout out for those guys. I mean, I love how much I learn listening to that podcast. Those guys are fantastic.
I give them like 5 seconds, and they know more about the song than both Coolio and Stevie Wonder and Weird Al probably did.
That's right. They're mowing their lawn and listening to those guys for who wrote their song.
Yeah.
But
the Shirley podcast guys, I feel like when they're listening to our podcast, not only are they mowing their lawn while listening, but they know everything there is to know about the lawnmower.
I would agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
They're knowledgeable guys, and they're just fun to listen to.
They are, and they're great guys too. They're good friends.
They're wonderful people.
Yeah.
They are. Everything you said. Ditto.
Yeah.
Ditto. But no, it's Something Paradise. I keep wanting to quote the Weird Al one, Amish Paradise.
Yeah.
But there's a very similar. I don't know, like I'm sure some people, would look at it negatively, but it's either sampled or you could even look at it like. The song, he covered the song or altered it slightly. I don't know. I mean, but there's a Stevie Wonder song that's very close, and it's something.
It's the Stevie Wonder song. So I'm going to pretend like I know what this word means, and I'm going to say it. Interpolating Stevie Wonder's song "Pastime Paradise" from 1976.
Pastime Paradise. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Pastime Paradise.
But it was a great tune.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a great tune. All of it's great. Listen to all the tunes,
Yeah.
right? Listen to them all. There's no reason why you can't.
No. So this time around we are talking Dangerous Minds. This is part of our Teenagers Month of 1995. So far this month for the Patreon, we've done Real Genius from 85. Patreon short was Angus from 95. We have done, up to this point, Mallrats, Clueless, Back to the Future, and then this week is Dangerous Minds, and then next week is Empire Records.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a fun month.
Yes, it is.
So. All right. Why don't we get on into this one? I will say, for anybody listening, Bo may show up at some point or not at all. It sounded like there was a bit of a work tech emergency. and so
Right.
he was caught doing that. So if Bo doesn't show up, then he might be listening to this later, and we'll say, "Hi, Bo, we miss you."
We miss you, Bo. We do.
All right, well, let's jump on into this one here. This one came out August 11th, 1995, rated R. Runtime of 1 hour 39 minutes, directed by John N. Smith. He did The Boys of St. Vincent and A Cool, Dry Place. Writer was Ronald Bass, who did Rain Man and My Best Friend's Wedding. Producers were Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer. Simpson did Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop, and Bruckheimer did Pirates of the Caribbean and Armageddon. Knowing that this is a Jerry Bruckheimer movie, I feel like there needed to be more explosions. I think this was for a Bruckheimer movie. This was light on the explosions.
You're saying more explosions. Yeah, I hear you. I don't know that would necessarily fit with the overall oeuvre of the movie, but I respect you for your opinions.
As Gomez Adams used to say, "You can't fool me." That's French. I think it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know if I used it. I don't even know if I used it correctly. This might be a case of you keep using that word. I don't think you know. I don't think it means what you think it means.
That's okay. You either said exactly what you meant to say, or you said the French word for eggs. So
eggs are okay.
Eggs are expensive right now, but yeah, they're okay.
Yeah, that might be a whole different discussion, John.
That's a whole different podcast.
Oh, yes, it is.
We could monetize the show by selling eggs at a low price at this point. The composer for this one was Wendy and Lisa. They did Heroes and Crossing Jordan. Cinematographer was here comes the French. Cinematographer was Pierre Letard. He did The Boys of St. Vincent and The Education of Little Tree. The editor was Tom Rolfe. He did Taxi Driver and Heat. Production company is Hollywood Pictures. Budget $23 million. Box office $179.5 million. So they did okay.
Yeah.
Flickmetrics gives this one a 61%. CinemaScore gives it an A-.
Okay, so it was rated well. There was something we looked at that it kind of had. I thought it had like lower ratings on it, and I was always like, that was confusing. I always thought that this movie did well.
I feel like, which one was it? I feel like recently or coming up, I want to say Empire Records has some low ratings.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like they give Empire Records some low ratings. So it might have been that one if we were looking ahead at that one.
Yeah, but I thought it was this one. I thought I saw somewhere that, I don't know, the critic score and the audience score didn't gel.
Oh, it could.
I don't know.
Could be Rotten Tomatoes. Could be a discrepancy.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer played Luann Johnson. She was in Batman Returns and Scarface. George Tzunda played Hal Griffith. He was in The Deer Hunter and Basic Instinct. Courtney B. Vance was Mr. George Grandy. He was in The Hunt for Red October and The People vs. O.J. Simpson. Robin Bartlett was Carla Nichols. She was in Shutter Island and Inside Llewellyn Davis. Beatrice Wind, who passed away in 2004, played Mary Benton. She was in The Hurricane and Simon Birch. John Neville, who passed in 2011, played the waiter. He was in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen and Urban Legend. Brooklyn Harris played Callie Roberts, was in Juice and Life. Renoli Santiago played Raul Sanchero, was in Hackers and Con Air. Wade Dominguez, who passed in 1998, played Emilio Ramirez, was in City of Industry and Shadow of Doubt. Marcello Thedford played Cornelius Bates. He was in Volcano and Employee of the Month. Lorraine Toussaint, there's that French again, played Irene Roberts, was in The Middle of Nowhere, and Selma. So this movie is based on the true story of Luann Johnson, a former U.S. Marine who became a teacher in a tough inner-city school after serving. Coolio's hit song Gangster Paradise became actually one of the most iconic movie songs of the 90s and won a Grammy. I mean, that thing was everywhere. When this movie came out, I had never seen this movie up until last week.
Really? Okay.
But I knew that song. I knew that song inside and out.
Sure.
That song, yeah. I mean, that was a huge hit when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't hurt. You know that you've got a hit on your hands when Weird Al makes a parody of your song.
Yes.
I think that's the true test of musical success is when Weird Al parodies you, you know you've made it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The real Luann Johnson said that the film probably exaggerated a few things here and there, including using karate to discipline students. couple other things, some sad ones. Wade Dominguez, who played Emilio, he passed away in 1998 from respiratory failure, and he was only 32 years old. So just 4 years after this movie was made, he had passed away. Michelle Pfeiffer was actually pregnant during production, so it was, I mean, like most movies, it was shot out of sequence, but there were several different times in the movie where, she's wearing bulky sweaters, long skirts, or she's carrying something big to kind of hide the fact that she's pregnant. TV shows do this all the time. Mm-hmm. If one of the actresses in the TV show is pregnant, then I know, what was it? Modern Family was kind of notorious for this in the first season, I think, of Modern Family. The one character, I haven't seen the show, so I'm blanking on her name right now. But she was pregnant during the filming of the first season, so she's constantly carrying like laundry baskets or standing behind the island in the kitchen, or holding things, so you can't tell that she's pregnant. Well, apparently they did the same thing with Michelle Pfeiffer during this one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And then if we have any Bob Dylan fans out there, Bob Dylan's song Mr. Tambourine Man, the idea behind it is that this is a song about drugs, and supposedly it's a very popular belief. But Bob Dylan himself said no. Actually, in an autobiography that he wrote, he said drugs never played a part in that song. It's not drugs. He's like, drugs were never a big thing to me. I could take them or leave them. Never a big thing. So no, that's not about drugs.
You are incorrect, sir.
You are wrong. Thank you for playing.
End of line.
In a school ruled by chaos, one teacher refuses to back down. Luann Johnson, a former Marine, takes on a class of troubled students in a fight to change their future. With nothing but determination and unconventional tactics, she battles the system and their doubts to show them a world beyond the streets. This summer, education gets dangerous.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left.
Who are those kids? Rejects from hell?
No. The kids with high IQs and low grades. All you gotta do is get their attention.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. Most of my students don't even know what a verb is. You want to pass? All you have to do is try.
Let's play a game for it.
Straight 8-ball, call your shots, no slot, best out of 3 games. Loser rack! Haven't seen you guys in a week. Thought maybe you got lost on your way to class. Wanted to help you find your way back.
My boys don't go to your school no more, and that's gonna be it.
You took them out of school?
Go find yourself some other poor boys to save.
You gotta be crazy to stay here and teach these program classes.
Why do you stay?
Why do I smoke? I'm crazy.
I will not go down underground because somebody tells me that death's coming around.
Because that's the difference between owning your life and being afraid. You mean like a guy's got a gun to your head and he's pulling the trigger and you say, I choose to die?
These kids are so fragile.
You got to rage against the dying of the light.
You promised!
Yeah, but we had to. We couldn't walk around with our heads up no more. You a Marine, you understand. If you don't stand up, you can't walk down the street.
Nobody's forcing you to be here. You have a choice. You can stay or you can leave.
You come and live in my neighborhood for 1 week, and then you tell me if you got a choice.
There are a lot of people who live in your neighborhood who choose not to get on that bus. That is a choice. There are no victims in this classroom.
All right, major moments for this one. Starting off, major moments, we break this down into 10 major moments so that we can do a quick kind of flyover of the plot. So if you want to skip this, but well, I mean, the rest of the episode we're going to talk about this movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled, now would be the time to stop and come back later after you've watched the movie. But number one, Luann Johnson, former Marine, is unexpectedly offered a teaching position at a high school near the inner city, or somewhere probably near the inner city. This occurs when she meets with the assistant principal, Carla Nichols, who informs her of the immediate opening. She goes in just so she can get some student teaching stuff finished. And surprise, they need somebody. So you got a job if you want it. And Pat, let me ask you a quick question about that. When you heard the starting salary that they were going to give her, how did you feel about that?
I kind of laughed.
Yeah.
What was the starting salary again?
I feel like it was like $27,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or $2,500 or $25,000. I mean, well, $2,500. I wouldn't be shocked, but
yeah.
I want to say it was close to maybe it was like $24,700 or some number like that. Yeah. But even like, I mean, because this is supposed to be California and it's the mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I did look it up, and granted, she's not going to get paid the average because she has no experience and she's, just now coming into it. The average teacher salary in California in the mid 90s was, I believe, somewhere around $46,000 to $49,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but, and I will make this comment as we go through the rest of some of the major moments, knowing that her teaching salary is 24/7, if that's what it was, 24,700. There's a lot of things she does in this movie, and I'm sitting there, I'm going, how can she afford this?
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, those are, I feel like she was handing out full-size candy bars.
Yes.
I guarantee you, when you go trick-or-treating in the neighborhoods that hand out full-size candy bars, those the people who live in those houses are not making $25,000 a year.
Right.
Come to think of it, I'm not sure you can live in a house and make $25,000 a year right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So there were some maybe discrepancies in the financial accuracy of the movie.
There were. I mean, I know the point they were making.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. There was a school that I interviewed at where the starting salary was slightly below that.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Wasn't in California, though.
Okay. I come to think of it, there was, when I was interviewing down in central Illinois, there was a school, and this was in 2000. What would this have been? This would have been 2005, 2006.
Oh, okay.
There was a school down in central Illinois, and the starting salary, and I was coming in with a master's degree. So starting salary for me that they were offering was, I believe, $21,000.
Yeah. What was technically the poverty line?
At that point, was it like 16 or 17?
Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I want to say, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
Well, no, actually in 2006, let's see if I've got this correct. In 2006, the average poverty threshold for a family of four, now granted, we were not a family of four at that time. Poverty threshold for a family of four in 2006 was $20,000, 614.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, if we had been a family of four at that point, it would have been like right at the poverty line.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's probably in some places still the case, but that's
true. Where
I know a lot of teachers were, you'd work multiple jobs or.
Right. Yep. I've had to do that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she is offered, surprisingly, immediately offered, I think just because she's a warm body, and she seems to have maybe half of a functioning brain in her head, that she's offered a job because everybody else has quit, and they cannot seem to handle the academy students. Fun little appearance here. The person playing Principal Carla Nichols, she is played by, is it Robin Bartlett? I know her best as the sister of Paul Reiser's character in the show Mad About You. So she shows up regularly in that show, which is one of our favorites.
Yes.
Yes, she was in there. So it's kind of fun to see her as the assistant principal. On her first day, Luann encounters a classroom of disengaged and defiant students who end up nicknaming her White Bread. And they have no respect at all for her authority in the classroom. And we did see kind of in the opening credits of the movie that these are the academy students. So this is not really, the description of this refers to this as an inner city school, but I don't really think this should be considered an inner city school because they get bused from the inner city to come to the school.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I think that's a little bit of a misnomer in the description there.
Right. And I remember the first time I saw it, I thought that it was supposed to be in an underserved, impoverished area.
Right.
But no, it was.
Yeah. And it was kind of, I know I'm kind of getting into more of like commentary on this, so I won't do too much of it. But in some ways, this class was a little similar to when I was student teaching. I was student teaching at the high school that I student taught at, because I student taught for several weeks at a middle school, and then I student taught at a high school down in central Illinois. And the two or three classes that I was teaching, one of them was an advanced, it was like honors 10th grade world literature. And then the other class I was teaching was a reading skills class. And that class felt a little bit like how the class feels in this movie. Is the kids were all completely kind of disengaged. They were kids that wouldn't typically do well in school. There were kids. The difference is the class that I actually taught in the real world that was like this, much more diverse ethnically. So I mean, there were kids, there were students of color, there were white kids, there were different ages of kids. So it wasn't kind of just a homogenous black and brown kids, kind of like you see in this movie. So that was a little bit of a difference between the movie and between real life, at least in my experience. But in some ways, very similar class. Like I had students in that class who I didn't know if they were going to be there from one day to the next, because one kid had been kind of in and out of jail. And so didn't necessarily know what days he was going to be there. And there were a couple of girls in the class that were pregnant. And so, there were some days that they might skip school to stay home and help out with something, or had a doctor's appointment or something like that. So it was a lot of kind of watching this movie kind of brought back some memories of that class. And I love that class. Like that was probably both. I love both of them. I love the honors class and I love the reading skills class. But what's funny about that situation is, just like in this movie, you give the kids a topic that's interesting to them, and they're absolutely willing to learn.
Right.
So like you get sometimes with these movies or these stories, you get these kind of stereotypes of, well, these kids just don't care about learning. They don't care about this. They're all these kinds of kids. I'm using quote fingers. All these kind of kids don't want to learn. They're just trouble. And you know what? From the outside, I'm sure somebody probably would have looked at that reading skills class that I was teaching, and they're like, "Oh, good grief, good luck with that group." But that was one of my favorite groups of kids to teach, because they, if you gave them, they had enough stuff going on in most of their lives that if you gave them something they were interested in, and they saw meaning in it beyond, oh great, I'm in school, they're going to make me read this stupid thing that has nothing to do with my life, then it was just like any other class. And in some ways, you connect with any group of students, doesn't matter who they are. I had the same type of experiences and the same type of discussions with that group of kids that I had in the 10th grade honors class. No difference.
Right.
Like some of our discussions, no difference. Same level of discussion, same, sharing the same type of ideas. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting watching this movie and kind of thinking back to student teaching.
Right. Well, it's that, building connections.
Yeah.
with the students, and I thought those themes. This is again a deeper thought, but I mean, those themes I thought were pretty powerful in the movie.
Yeah.
Powerful. I don't know. That was kind of a generic description. Those were very prevalent. Maybe that's that theme of make connections with the kids, care about them, and they'll care about learning and bettering themselves and all of that.
Yeah. So, determined to connect with her student, Luann returns wearing a leather jacket and introduces karate lessons to capture their interest. Initially, this kind of intrigues them a bit, but it doesn't really lead to much, let's say, academic engagement. And so that only gets her so far. Then she starts to employ some other creative strategies. Although I do want to back up for just a second, and I told my wife about this after having watched the movie. And again, I had not seen this movie up till last week. I'm watching the movie, and after her first day, when it's the really rough first day, and she basically just walks in there, they call her white bread, and she leaves because nobody will listen to her. She goes home and she reads the book on like classroom management, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're gonna go home, you're gonna read a book on classroom management that night, and you're gonna come back the next day, and all of a sudden it's gonna be stand and deliver. Okay. All right. I'm seeing a little Hollywood license here.
Right.
I don't remember who the book was by. I mean, it's no First Days of School by Harry Wong, but
right.
No. So she starts by kind of giving all students. She tells them as a way to kind of boost their confidence that everybody's starting with an A, and it's their job to keep the A. She uses Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man to teach poetry, and that's kind of getting the students to relate to the material a little bit. She's got some students who, when she was walking in the room, like they were rapping, they were coming up with some material, some songs. So I think she kind of figured, okay, well, poetry, song, that might be my way to get my foot in the door here with these students and kind of get things moving, get things going with them, to kind of make the literature that she needs to teach them a little bit more accessible. To motivate her class, she starts to offer some incentives like candy bars and trips to a theme park. And this is where her tactics start to draw a little criticism from the school authorities, who believe she needs to just stick to the curriculum and not do those other things. And this is the first moment in the movie where I'm sitting there going, okay, hold on. Brand new teacher, you're making less than $25,000 a year. How are you affording all these candy bars?
Right.
And on top of that, how are you affording a trip to a theme park for every single student in this class?
Right.
Like, no.
Maybe she's got a guy. She knows the guy.
Maybe.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe she still has a relationship with Scarface.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could
exactly.
That's where the money comes. It's the drug money from Scarface.
Right.
She took a little bit with her and ran away to California. Say hello to my little friend. Yeah, so I thought was just kind of, it was almost comical. It was like, no, there's no way you're not affording any of this. And then I need to get through the major moments, and then we need to talk about deep thoughts, because I have thoughts about these. I want to share them objectively first.
Okay.
And then I'll jump into thoughts, because I have thoughts about the next several scenes in this movie.
Okay.
Luann takes a special interest in Raul Sanchero, a student involved in gang activities. She visits his family to praise his progress and actually ends up taking him out to dinner. I have thoughts on that scene. And that kind of boosts his self-confidence, his self-esteem, and kind of his commitment to school. Emilio Ramirez, one of her most troubled students, has this kind of sense of personal honor and doesn't really want to seek out any help. But when she learns he's in danger from a recently released rival gang member, she advises him to get some help from Principal Grandy. Emilio tries to follow her advice, but is dismissed by Principal Grandy for not knocking before entering. Feeling rejected, Emilio leaves and is subsequently killed by his rival, and that deeply affects Luann and the rest of the class. Devastated by Emilio's death and frustrated with the school's bureaucracy, Luann announces her decision to leave at the end of the academic year. But moved by her students' heartfelt pleas for her to remain, Luann decides to continue teaching, recognizing the positive impacts she's had on their lives, and she's going to stick around. So, that all being said, let's have some maybe deep and dangerous thoughts on this one.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
I like it a lot.
Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
Okay.
Go for it, John. Go for it. You just saw this movie.
Let's step into this gingerly. And what is she doing taking one single male student out to dinner?
Yeah, I know. That was
Yeah,
I was nervous.
I'm watching that whole scene, and when it's like, oh, so-and-so couldn't make it because they have work. Oh, the other one couldn't make it because they have work. I guess it's just the two of us. And I'm sitting there going, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't spell bad situation without whatever letters make up the name Vili Falau.
Yes.
Because, no, just don't.
I mean, it didn't go anywhere in the movie.
Correct. It was everything was above board. It was fine. And you had the fun interactions with the waiter and, all that. But yeah, just the whole scene, I don't know. Maybe just having been a teacher as a former and current educator, I'm sitting there during that whole scene and my entire body, I think, is just clenched because I'm sitting there going, oh, this is so much a problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I understand. Like, I totally get. And if the original, Luann did this with her students, I understand the thought behind it. I understand the desire to want to connect with the students and to help them feel that sense of self-worth and self-esteem and all of that. But I just are opening yourself up to all kinds of issues and potential improprieties and all kinds of other things. So I think I wrote in my notes, and my notes here were a little bit tamer, I think, than what I really wanted to say. I wrote in my notes, this scene is more than a little questionable.
Yeah. Oh, so-and-so has work? Okay, we'll bring him food.
Yeah.
Oh, so-and-so has work. Okay, guess what? We're going to postpone. We're going to do this tomorrow.
That's how we do that. We do it a different day.
Yeah.
Or we grab food and let everyone take it home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there are, I guess, cats out of the bag. I'll just say, again, first time I had seen this movie, and we'll go with the very general question, did I like it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with, I didn't dislike it, but it just wasn't as good as some other, like, inspirational teacher movies or, students who typically struggle get inspired to do better kind of movie. Like, if I've got the option of a Stand and Deliver or Dead Poets Society or, I don't know, pick any number of one of those. Even Summer School. I'll pick Summer School. We did that one many years ago. I'm probably opting to watch one of those rather than watch this one again, because I think the best thing, am I going to say it this way? I'm going to say it this way. I think the best thing about this movie was that Coolio's song was in the soundtrack.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going to take that, because I got what they were trying to do, and I know it's based on a true story. Got what they were trying to do, but it seemed like there were a lot of stereotypes in this movie. It seemed like a lot of the way things were presented were fairly trite. Like it was, it didn't grab me emotionally.
Okay.
Which especially being a teacher, these type of movies will almost always, I'll find a connection with these type of movies because we've worked this job, like we've done this.
Right.
We try to do this with students, whether it's band, whether it's English, whether it's math, whether it's whatever. We try to do this kind of thing. So I feel like I will naturally gravitate towards and connect with movies like this. And this one, I don't know. This one, it just seemed, yeah, it didn't have the impact on me that a lot of these other kind of like, inspirational teacher movies have.
Yeah. And so it's kind of hard because it doesn't have that impact. It's kind of hard for you to give it a pass on some of the more, as you said, problematic elements in the script.
Exactly. Yeah. If this was like a Stand and Deliver, if it was something like that, maybe there's some goofy stuff here and there in that movie, but I probably do give it a pass because I really like that movie, and Edward James Olmos is awesome in that movie, and it's a fun movie, and it's got a lot of really good stuff in it, and there probably is some weird stuff, but I give it a pass because there's more of an impact on it, and this one, I just didn't do it for me.
Right. I hear you.
Well, what about you, Pat? When was the first time you saw this one?
I think I saw it in a theater.
Did you
with
really?
Some buddies.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We went out and saw it, and yeah, which is interesting that I went and saw this movie. It must have been, because it was usually mostly action and all that for me, but maybe I was seeing it with someone else that I don't remember. I remember enjoying it. Coolio song was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Being a high school kid and, not, being a part of an underserved population, there were parts of it that wasn't necessarily something I could relate to directly. And I really didn't have any intention in becoming a teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially at that time in my life.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't like, oh, well, I now I look back on it and it's kind of like I have to channel what it was like now I watch it, it's like, oh, you don't do that with a class, or you don't do, but when I first saw it, I didn't have I didn't have the desire to be a teacher, and I didn't have the experience of dealing with a class of students. And so I kind of had to get back into, okay, well, what was my mind like back then when I saw it? I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances. The sad parts were definitely sad.
Mm-hmm.
The principal was a frustrating deal, as a kid, because, it's like, okay, well, that's the bad guy. And not the bad guy, that's wrong, but he's kind of like, he's not trying to help the kids out like the Michelle Pfeiffer character is trying to help the kids out. And,
sure.
All those feels. But now as an adult and as a teacher looking back, it's suddenly like, okay, well, so this is what's going on, or, you have a different perspective on it. And I hear what you're saying about those other films, and I get where this one maybe doesn't have the impact that those do. That being said, that idea of making connections with kids,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
either finding something that they get excited about, or, just getting to know them as people. I think I like the way that's presented.
Yeah.
In here, I think the responses, it was pretty powerful, where you see how some of the kids respond to her, but then, they, once you get past that, like almost hazing period, and where it shows, hey, I'm here, I'm in for the long haul. So I'm going to be here till, they accept her, and they, she becomes part of that class. Interesting when she went to the one house and the mother was there, basically just chased her away.
Yeah.
You're filling my kids' heads with, stuff that isn't going to do them any good. And, that whole piece of it, I want to say that coming up through the years in talking about this movie, that was the one thing that when I spoke to people with what they struggled with this movie, that was the piece that they struggled with, was that the idea of, as we've talked about both facetiously and seriously on this podcast, but the idea of the white savior
mm-hmm.
Narrative. And now obviously this was based on a true story, and the story, I don't have any problem with the story in and of itself. but again, I'm not a person of color, so I think there's other perspectives that have to be, thought of, or
Sure.
what would you say? What do you say when you're seeking another person's perspective?
I mean,
Maybe,
seeking
maybe
to
just say that.
understand, right? Like,
Yeah. So maybe, so
put yourself in their
maybe
shoes.
that's, yeah. And so, how would someone else feel about looking at this? And and I remember someone describing it like, well, this movie in and of itself isn't bad, but when like you see a majority of movies where that's the theme, um, where are the movies that show, a person of color as the savior that comes in and inspires a group of kids to do better and all of that. And I can hear that when people are saying that as well. So again, it wasn't something necessarily that I felt when I was watching it. But again, if you look at what demographic I represent, I might not, I don't necessarily have the, I can't represent everybody's feelings and thoughts on it. So as I talked to different people that had seen this movie, I can understand where they were coming from with it. Like you said, on the surface, it was, a story that talked about kids and struggles and all that. But it maybe kind of that whole mile wide, inch deep type of thing. It didn't quite go as in depth with, the class struggle and how to deal with, people from impoverished areas or underserved populations. It didn't make a commentary sort of like Boys in the Hood, where they talked about gun violence and then they ended with, the stats, that, those chilling statistics about gun violence and in urban areas and that. So I'll bring my rambling to a close, but that's kind of how I feel about the movie. It was a good story. I enjoy watching it. Now with the perspective of a teacher, you're right. Like you watch those things and it's like, oh, why are you going to dinner with this kid all by himself? When I watched it, when I was a high school kid and watched it, I probably would have thought of it more not like the teachers exposing themselves to any sort of problematic thing. I probably would have thought of it as like going to dinner with my teacher all by myself, dude. I'd be nervous. I'd like call it,
right.
Just
that's
your different perspectives.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I think for me, like there were several of these scenes, several scenes in the movie that, I mean, they were fine. Like the kind of the fun scene with the karate as she's trying to make a connection with them. And, I think some of that is fairly true to life as teachers. You try things and some things work and some things don't work. And, sometimes your connections are not, as academic as maybe your administrators or some other folks would want them to be. But sometimes you got to spend a little time doing some non-academic stuff, in order to get students ready to deal with the academic stuff. I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that there's a lot of, you are dealing with children and you are dealing with adolescents. It's not like you're, and granted, sometimes adults are not a whole lot better, but it's not like you're dealing with adults that can sit there and rationally think, okay, this is good for me and I should learn this because I want to do X, Y, and Z. Like when you're dealing with students and kids, that it's more of a, sometimes I have to kind of forcefully bring you along and teach you because this is, it's what we have to do. So, and we have to find ways to motivate and engage the students and do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think probably because there's several scenes in this that I did relate to, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember feeling that way as a brand new teacher, or feeling that way when I was student teaching and just first time in a classroom kind of a situation. I think overall is when I finished this movie and I kind of looked back on it, I wondered if, because the Coolio song had been so big, and because I remember there being like TV commercials for this movie everywhere. I remember seeing the trailer multiple times on TV. I feel like this movie was ubiquitous in the mid 90s. And now having watched it, I'm like, that didn't really hold up to the hype of
right.
of what the hype this movie was given in the mid '90s. I mean, there's other movies that are almost exactly like this. There's the movie with Hilary Swank called Freedom Riders. I think that one is overall a better movie. I mean, maybe some better acting, better situations. But yeah, I mean, you've got your classics. You've got your classic teacher movies of, I mentioned a few: Dead Poet Society, Stand and Deliver, Freedom Riders. You've got Lean on Me. You've got Dangerous Minds. You've got Mr. Holland's Opus, which I think we're doing next month.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Mr. Holland's Opus?
I have not.
Okay. Well, if you think the dinner scene in this one is a little bit like, whoa,
I'm gonna have problems. Oh man.
No, it's a good movie.
Okay.
And there's parts of that movie that, and I will stand up and say, like, well, I don't want to. There's parts that I can relate to in that movie that are like, holy Moses, that is exactly it.
Yeah.
That is right on. There's one part in the movie where most of my music colleagues are all better musicians than me. I'll talk to like, boy, that scene was kind of, and I'm like, yeah, but so when you direct a concert, that's blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's one scene, just play this back in your mind when you get there. And if you think going out to dinner was potentially problematic, let's watch Mr. Holland's Opus. And then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
And it's a great movie.
Okay. All right. I've always heard really good things about it, but okay. I'll try to steel myself and be ready for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it is a great movie. And I think there is stuff that they absolutely just knock it out of the park with. I mean, it's a Hollywood movie. It's meant for entertainment, but yes. And if I can preempt and talk Mr. Holland's Opus, there is stuff in there that you're just like, oh my gosh, that is so close to how things are.
Yeah.
And I'll go down the line. Like when you do the major moments, like I will just stand up and say, yes, that is how that happened. Yes, that is exact. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. That is how you get by. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. That look on that kid's face. That exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when they start to question him on his curriculum and his response. And I'll just say, you've dealt with your music department as a colleague and as an administrator, John. Like, you tell me if that's what you think our music department would respond. Yeah. So I don't want anyone to construe that I'm taking a line on Mr. Holland's Opus. I really, really like that movie.
Yeah.
But I'll just say it one more time. If you thought the dinner scene was problematic in this, let's just talk in a month and you let me know what you think.
Okay. I'll prepare myself.
Yeah.
We'll see how prepared my soul is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, and I was listing a bunch of movies. I would be remiss if I didn't list possibly one of the greatest inspirational teacher movies of all time. And that would be School of Rock with Jack Black.
Yes.
So
for those about to rock, we salute you.
And if you think the going out to dinner with your student scene is awkward, wait until you get to the parent-teacher conference scene in School of Rock.
I have touched your students.
I've really,
how did that go?
I've really touched your students, and some of them have touched me too. And just the looks on the parents' faces.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's not. And the cops are standing outside the door, and
Yeah. Oh, fun.
Good times.
Well, but I'll just say something in this movie triggered because you look at the box office and it's way the heck up there. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It made a lot of money. And so I wonder if, what was that marketing? Was it, I don't know. Maybe it was summertime and all the teachers needed to go see a movie and that's what they all went to go see. And I do think it was probably a combination of the marketing, the song, because I mean, this movie, from what I recall, was everywhere that summer.
Right.
So.
Right.
So whoever ran the marketing campaign for that one, good job. You succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pat. Before we pass out the candy bars and see if we can get everybody to answer the 3 questions, do you have anything else you want to say about Dangerous Minds?
No, I don't think so. I think, I think we covered it all. I think I enjoyed it. It's got a great song. There's a good story. And, I hear the things that you were saying about it, where there's lots of different teaching movies out there, but I think it's worth seeing and judging for yourself, right? Because there's some, like any movie about society and people living in it, there's different opinions and stuff, especially when it's 30 years old, it could appear dated or maybe not so dated. And maybe that's okay. Or maybe it's not. Maybe we wish that was a situation that was in our past and we didn't have to do. So I don't know. Might be worth it to check out, see what you think.
Yeah. And who knows in a few years what education even looks like. I say that without trying to turn things down a direction we may not want to go.
So are you calling an audible on the 3 questions, John, or are we going to talk about food?
Let's see. Is there food in the there is food in the 3 questions. So we should probably just get on to the 3 questions before I, say something that might get me in trouble.
I'm with you till the end of the line, bud. You feel free.
Yeah. Let's just say this. Here's the 3 questions. Support teachers because they're doing really good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Do that. There's all kinds of political stuff around teaching, but the vast majority of teachers are good people who are trying to do good things and trying to teach students. And sometimes people get in the way, systems get in the way, stuff gets in the way. So down at the very, very heart and soul of it all, it's good people trying to do good things, trying to teach students because they care.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was, yes. And I want to say the buddy, the guy that was like, hey, I'm right across the hall if you need anything.
Yeah.
Don't try and talk over them. What'd she try to do? Talk over them. Right. And it didn't go so well.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And him, I was waiting for him to be a burnout or but he wasn't. I mean, he cared about his kids too, right? Yeah. I really like that character when he's grading the paper.
Yeah.
And I can't repeat exactly what he had said, but he's looking, idiot, and then he goes through and he looks at the other one, there's times that I'm like, I thought that was again, there's different parts of this film that there's holes and there's this, but I thought that was a pretty accurate portrayal of a teacher's attitude that not burnt out, but just, dealing with the grind. And yeah.
Oh,
I like that character.
I guarantee whether it was sitting at my desk at work or sitting at the kitchen table at 1:00 in the morning grading essays for students, I guarantee the later and later at night that it got, I had a bunch of little running. Even if I absolutely loved the students, I probably had running commentary in my head. I'm like, what were you thinking here? Like, what possessed you to think that would make sense? Now, would never say that to the student, would never mark that down on my feedback, would never let that, affect my grading of what they had written, but just in my head sometimes, just to keep me sane. I'm probably sitting there going, are you kidding me?
Right.
So yes, I that scene I absolutely connected with because I'm sitting there going, yes, minus the smoking, that probably was me. Right.
Yeah. Oh man, fun stuff.
All right, it's time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
God, I forgot Billy Madison. That's an inspirational teaching movie.
That's an inspirational teaching movie. Exactly.
Yeah. That's the test at the end of the movie. God, I can't believe I forgot that one. Okay. All right. Pat, question number one. What is your favorite Bob Dylan song?
You know what?
And maybe I should start with this instead of, are you a Bob Dylan fan?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
all right.
I mean, yeah. I can't say I'm kind of like a Bob Dylan fan in the same sense that I was a fan of the Doors before we watched the movie, and I said, okay, I'm going to become a fan of the Doors, and I bought all the albums and listened to basically the Doors for a year straight.
Yeah.
Only the Doors. It's kind of like I mean, I know kind of his greatest hits. I have a cursory understanding of his career, but yeah, I like listening to him. I like his different songs. My favorite tune is "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall."
Okay. Yep.
"Forever Young" is a good one.
Yep.
I like that one as well. I know a lot of his tunes. We were brought up, my mom and dad, my mom especially, with big Peter, Paul, and Mary fans. So a lot of the tunes, they both did the same tunes. So did he also do "How Many Roads Must a Man Walk Down?" Or they call him a man. What's the name of that tune? The answer, "Blowing in the Wind."
Yes.
He did "Blowing in the Wind."
Yes, he did.
But I mean, see, like those tunes, I grew up with the Peter, Paul, and Mary version. So yeah, but yes, I am a fan of Bob Dylan, and "Hard Rain's Gonna Fall" is my favorite.
I actually
Your turn.
At one point in time, I took the song "Blowing in the Wind," and I made this was before I was in charge of the tech department. When I was a tech coach and I would work with the tech department, I made a parody song of "Blowing in the Wind," and it was "Put That Ticket In." And it was a parody song that was supposed to encourage teachers, don't just grab them in the hallway, put that ticket in. Make sure you submit that tech ticket. And I think it was pretty good. I mean, I don't remember what it said, but I feel like it was good.
That is awesome. I feel like you need to pull that out.
I welcome the Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
Oh, boys.
Oh, that reminds me, John, when we're done with this, Jeff Mazuka and I realized just how old we are the other day. Remind me, I got to tell you, it's a thing of beauty.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Probably I'm in the same boat with Bob Dylan. I'm not going to say I'm a Bob Dylan super fan. I, much like you, I kind of have a cursory knowledge of his greatest hits, his changing styles over the years, that kind of stuff. I would be interested. I don't think I was going to go see it in the theater. I'd be interested in seeing that movie that came out, The Complete Unknown. It looked like it was good. So I'll probably, when it comes to streaming or the library, I'll probably check it out at that point. There's a few of his songs, and I think Bob Dylan is one of those. In fact, I was talking with my wife tonight, and I said, I think Bob Dylan is one of those that we probably know more of his songs than we think we do. Because they've probably been covered by other people. And that's kind of the case. Like one of my favorite songs of his, this is not the one I'm going to choose, because I wanted to try to choose one that I had heard him sing first. But "Knocking on Heaven's Door," I heard that one first from Guns N' Roses, and then found out that it was a Bob Dylan song. And so that one, and then the ones you mentioned as well. I think the one I'm going to pick is "The Times They Are Changing."
Yeah.
I do like that song.
That's a really good song.
But "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall," that one was on my list too. I was like, I'm going to go back and forth between that and "The Times They Are Changing." But yeah, I think it's Bob Dylan. I think is one of those that while I haven't spent a lot of time listening to his music, I bet if I really dug into his catalog of stuff, I probably know more than I think I do. So.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just fun to kind of, sometimes I'll poke a little fun at the way Bob Dylan sings some things sometimes. Because we would joke about that. I think we were joking about that even a few days ago. And they did my Bob Dylan impersonation. I was, "Hey,
yeah,
a hard rain's gonna fall."
Right.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, there's several songs on his list that I enjoy, and like I said, I bet if I dug even further into it, that there'd be more I'd recognize I didn't even know were his.
Mm-hmm.
All right, question number 2: what is your favorite amusement park ride?
Oh.
I'm gonna. We already gave a nice little shout out at the beginning to the Shirley podcast guys. They're gonna enjoy this one too because they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm gonna list 2 rides in particular, and they are both at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri.
Okay.
And the first one I'm going to mention, this one terrified me as a child, but then as I got older, I realized it was probably one of the smaller rides with the smallest, the dip down of any roller coaster that you could ever go on. Like this thing's not scary at all once you get a little bit older. But as a kid, I was terrified of this thing. They recently closed it down after it being there for decades and decades. I think they might have reopened it or will be reopening it, a new version of it. I'm not sure. Fire in the Hole was a perennial favorite at Silver Dollar City. The one I'm going to go with, though, is there was one, and it's super, super simple. It's called the Great American Plunge. And basically, it's you and your family sit in what looks like a giant hollowed out log, and most of the ride is you just kind of just slowly meandering down a little river, and it's all fine, and then you get to the end of the little meandering river, and you start to go up a steep incline, and it does the rat until you get up to the very, very top, and you get up to the very, very top, and you realize you are on a giant water slide, and you are going to get very wet when you get down at the very end.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So that one, super simple. Like, it's not a roller coaster. It's not. You're basically are going up this giant incline, and you are dropping down in this hollowed out log with the rest of your family, and you are going to get drenched at the end of this ride. So, those I'll do those 2 for me. Both Silver Dollar City, Fire in the Hole, R.I.P. Fire in the Hole, and then the Great American Plunge.
All right. Good choices, man. Good choices. Well, I suppose I need to get my answer now, don't I?
I mean, that's how podcasts work.
So historically, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride at Disney World was probably, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. And when there was a ride, I went to Disney a couple times, when I was younger, middle school, all that kind of deal. And they had that ride. And I think I rode that. I made my grandmother and grandfather, who, were just so kind to us. And we were so blessed with wonderful grandparents. Like I wore them down with how many times consecutively I did that ride. And then I wore my family down. Then my grandparents, well, I guess I wore my family down, my grandparents. I think I might've even been like, they let me go on it once or twice by myself because it was like, I just loved everything about that ride. So that was probably historically my favorite. I'll tell you, they took it out, but when Shockwave was at Great America, I really dug Shockwave.
Oh yeah.
I thought Shockwave was the cat's patootie there. Again, I'm giving all roller coasters that are gone. The current one that I would have to list as my favorite would probably be Batman the Ride.
I love that one.
Oh, and that was my first roller coaster that I ever rode.
Oh, okay.
Because I was a little bit apprehensive about roller coasters.
Yeah.
Until 8th grade. The 8th grade trip was Great America, and that was the year Batman opened. And they were like, dude, Canigallo, you are going on Batman with us. We're going to, and so you stood in line for 3 hours because it was a brand new ride.
Right, yeah.
And, then 30 seconds later, it's over. And you're like, that was the greatest thing ever. So you get back in line and, rinse and repeat. But, yeah, I'd say current Batman the Ride. Other than that, there really isn't a ride, I don't like. it's been forever since I've gotten a Great America. Now Danielle is gone, and she's gone with friends, and she was like nervous the first day, but she is like a roller coaster kid, and she thinks like she is like, we're going, Dad. We got to go, family. When are we getting the family pass? When are we going? And here's our route. We're going to do this ride, then this ride. Like she's gone a couple times this summer, and she loves all the coasters there. And I know it's not amusement park, but I'll branch into water parks. And I mean, this is a completely different question. So I'll try to keep it legal, but because I love water parks and water slides and all that. But there was one, and so I'm going to bend this question because it was a while ago, and we went up to Great Wolf Lodge, and they had one of those that you get on the big tube. And it's got that thing that looks like a cornucopia, where you go down the big steep drop and then it spits you out in that cornucopia and you're swishing up and down the sides and that.
Yeah.
And I remember that we went to the Great Wolf Lodge, and Dominic was younger, a lot younger, but he was old enough to ride those rides. And, like any dad trying to make connections with your kid and are they going to be excited about the things you like, or, and I remember the whole trip, he was looking at this thing and just like, I want to ride this ride, but I don't think so. And, and it was one of those that I'm like trying to like encourage him, but not being like, you will get on this ride.
Right.
But it's like, hey, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Yeah. But if you want to do it and you just need that push over the edge, I'll say, let's do it together. And, we did the whole thing, going back and forth, and Dominic's always kind of like to do his own thing. So the final day, he's like, Dad, we're going to ride this ride. And I'm just like, okay. And I didn't do the thing like, hey, are you sure? But I'll be honest, I was getting a little nervous, because I'm just like, okay, I don't know how he's going to react and that whole thing. And it ended up being, you had to schlep that big tube, because it's up to 4 people. And it was just Dominic and I. But in some of the places, they have a conveyor belt that brings the tube to the top for you.
Yeah.
The one we were at, you had to count, and I want to say it was 10 flights of stairs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was basically, Dominic was helping me carry the tube, but he was like little enough. He was basically hanging off the back. So I carried this big 4-person tube up 10 flights of stairs. And by the time I got to the top, it was like, I was so exhausted anyway, like any nerves were completely gone. But it was one of those that every night Dominic would sit like in our hotel room and look out the window and see the, because it goes outside of the hotel. He's like, yeah, Dad, we're going to do this the final day. And we did, and it was a lot of fun, and we have something to look back on. And, it was kind of special to share that with your son and all that kind of stuff. I just said your son. It's special to share it with my son, not your son.
Yeah.
So I would have to throw that one in there as well. I mean, I know not technically an amusement park, but a great ride nonetheless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one that I realized I should have mentioned because I think it was one that I had looked so forward to going on, and just I loved the entire experience, is I got to mention Smuggler's Run at Disney World. The Millennium
Yes,
Falcon.
I was wondering when that one was going to make its arrival.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, we never got to go. I don't know if it was because of time. I thought the lines were so long. We never got to go on Rise of the Resistance, which is supposed to be a really good one too.
What is Rise of the Resistance? Is that more of a roller coaster, or is that kind of the virtual reality thing like this one?
I feel like it's maybe a little bit. I don't think it's a roller coaster, but it does have some more of the kind of like VR projection stuff, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more of I think it is a little bit more, well, not traditional roller coaster, but it's a little bit more like you and a bunch of other people are sitting in the same car together. And you're going through, some different scenes from some of the Star Wars movies and stuff like that. So we never got to go on that.
Go ahead.
Actually, when we all went together, we never went on that one. I think Nora, when she went just this last week with her school, I think they went on it.
Cool.
When she was there, but the entire, I don't know that I have much desire to go back to Disney World. I would be fine going to Disneyland in California and do something different. But if you told me that you were going to give me tickets to go to Disney for one day, I would say, just give me tickets for one day. plop me in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and just let me spend the entire day there. I don't need to go anywhere else. I don't need to go to any other parks. I don't need to go any other rides, anything else. Just let me spend an entire day just spending time in Galaxy's Edge. Like that's that I enjoyed that entire. And unfortunately, when we were there, it was still kind of COVID was still kind of around. So there were certain things that were still, you know, a little, certain things you still weren't necessarily going to do. You know, and a lot of people still wearing masks and everything else. And so I would love to be able to go back there now when you don't have all those restrictions. Because the one thing I really wanted to do was go to the cantina, get a drink. You know, and there were a couple other things that I wanted to do while we were there, and we either ran out of time or just they weren't as readily available or whatever the case may be. But I could just spend an entire day just at Galaxy's Edge, and I would be totally fine.
Right. Dominic did Disneyland with his fan trip last year.
Okay.
And he said great things. I've never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World. It's been forever since I've been to Disney.
Yeah.
Like, I think Tammy, and we were planning a Disney trip and then COVID hit and all that kind of stuff. There's no reason why we can't plan another, we still can't go back and plan that. But it would be fun to get back and just check all that stuff out.
I highly recommend the Galaxy's Edge. It really does. Like
they
do a good job of making you actually feel like you're on another planet.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And they got they got the Millennium Falcon parked there, right? I mean, that's
enough right there. Like I almost don't do more than that.
Do you remember the original Star Tours?
Oh yeah, we went on that one too.
Oh, God, that was a fun ride.
Yeah, because they still have that little area, so they still have Star Tours. So like I'm not going to wait in line to go on Rise of the Resistance, but you bet I'm not leaving here without going on Star Tours.
Oh yeah, so they still have that original area with Star Tours.
As of when we were there a couple of years ago, yes.
Does it still have the AT-AT walker towering over you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Remember that when that's all there was for like Star Wars Land?
Oh,
we only had 3 Star Wars movies and all you had was Star Tours.
Well, and the funniest thing was because they still have, once you get out of Star Tours, there's that gift shop that has all the Star Wars like merchandise. Merchandising. When we were there, they had a ton of Wookiee Life Day toys.
Oh,
like from the holiday special. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the merchandise. Well, okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Question number 3. If you won the Dylan oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I've got to throw one ride in there, and I'm remiss. The original Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
And that I went on that ride, and that was almost like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Like after doing 20,000, and then they pulled out 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We went back, and I went on Pirates of the Caribbean. Another big excitement was, the golden age of piracy, and all that. It was always fascinating to me. And this was years before Pirates of the Caribbean, the Disney movie, was even
right. Exactly.
dreamed up.
Yeah. But
we went on that ride, and I just thought that ride was so cool. And we did that ride again multiple times. Every time we went back. In fact, I've never ridden it with the whole after the Jack Sparrow movies came out, but it was like when that movie came out, it was like, yep, we're going to that movie because I love that ride so much. So
yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean has to be on my list as well.
Yeah. Not while we're throwing stuff like that out there, not a ride.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I always enjoyed the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids part.
Yeah.
Like that part was cool too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question number 3. If you won the Dylan contest, what restaurant would you choose to go to? And I'm going to tell you, I'm throwing a little curveball here because I can, and I want to. I'm not just picking a restaurant. In fact, it's not a fancy restaurant at all. I'm picking a restaurant that is a childhood memory and I would love to go back. It's no longer open, but I would love to go back there. So that's my choice. So I am kind of bending the question a bit, because in the movie she takes them to like the fanciest restaurant in town. That's not my answer. My answer I'm going with is more nostalgia rather than fancy.
Okay.
Although there is a new steakhouse in Vernon Hills that has a probably one of the best pork chops I've ever had in my entire life. So
okay.
But that would not be where I would choose to go. So my answer, if I won the Dylan contest and we could go back in time a little bit, and I have no clue how the food was or is or whatever. My understanding is this place closed down, at least 10 to 15 years ago. Maybe. But as a kid, I remember this being one of my favorite places when we would go, because sometimes we'd go to the Mesquite Rodeo, and I think this was just down a little bit from the Mesquite Rodeo, and it was called the Trail Dust Steakhouse.
Okay.
And this place was, I don't know, as a kid, I thought this was the coolest place ever, because it's like a steakhouse kind of environment, and you've got your steak, you've got your barbecue type stuff. But the thing I loved about this as a kid was they had a massive slide that went all the way from the second story of the restaurant all the way down to the bottom.
Awesome. Fantastic.
And if I remember right, I think there was, I want to say there was also kind of a dance floor. So sometimes they might have done like line dancing or square dancing.
Sure.
But I just remember this massive slide. So I just remember going there. We'd go there a few times with the family. I just remember, as a kid, I remember enjoying the food. I remember having fun going down this huge slide in the restaurant. Then I remember, we'd go to the rodeo either before or after that.
Nice.
So as I was trying to think of like, well, what restaurant do I want to go somewhere fancy? I don't care about fancy. Give me somewhere that I have good memories of. So it was either going to be that or it was a 1980s Pizza Hut.
Okay. There you go.
I was going to go that route.
I love everything that you did with the answer to that question. I don't know if I've got an answer to this question. And it's the same thing. It's like, do I go to my favorite restaurant now? Which is Bonta's over in Lincolnshire. Do I pick the fanciest? Which, man, I don't know, because there were a couple over in Highwood, but a lot of those have closed, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. This one's hard because I love I love food. You know what I'm saying? I love food, love restaurants, love different restaurants. So I don't know, to try and pick one. Could go recency bias. We could talk about Sing's Kitchen over in Libertyville. Man, that was one of the best meals I'd ever had.
That was good.
That was amazing.
And we're going back there tomorrow, right?
Yeah, like as soon as we're done with this podcast, we're going back there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John, this is a hard one. I really struggled with, and I tried to do research. I tried to, and I just keep kind of come up with, hey, Bones is my favorite restaurant, Italian Kitchen over in Deerfield.
Is there a restaurant that you've never been to that you've heard really good things about and you'd like to try?
Not really. I usually, I'm pretty
not
fortunate.
really. If I've heard about it, I'm going to try it. So it's.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Or I just haven't been looking into the restaurants.
Sure, yeah.
I would watch that show Check Please.
Oh yeah.
On public television, WTTW.
Yep.
Problem with that was like that list got so long. It was like after watching, for a couple of weeks, you got a list of 24 restaurants that you got to try.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm struggling with this one, John. I'm not rejecting it. I'm just saying the struggle is real.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
But I gave you answers. I gave you answers.
That works. We'll go all of them.
Yeah, I want to go to all of the restaurants.
There's the line from Amadeus. They're all so beautiful. Why don't I have 3 heads?
Yes. Yeah. Maybe like a really good pizzeria or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah,
We do this every time. Like I know that we like to include the food questions, but I feel like that I just make myself hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is not wrong. That's okay.
Yeah, hunger's good.
Yeah.
Nourishment, so on and so forth.
Yeah, everybody's got to eat. All right. That's going to do it for this episode. Dangerous Minds was our movie this time around. If you want to check out our Dangerous Minds, we are we're on a bunch of different social media places, trying some new ones, maybe tapering off with some old ones. We're still occasionally posting some stuff up on Twitter or whatever it's called this week. I think we're posting some stuff up on Instagram, occasionally some stuff on Facebook, trying out Blue Sky, Threads. There's a couple of other social media stuff out there. So if you just check out, if you go look for 30 Podcast, at 30 Podcast on most of those, or go to our website, 30podcast.com, you'll find ways to interact with us there. You'll also, if you go to our website, you'll find all of our past episodes. We've got we're closing in on 600. So you got plenty of stuff to choose from over there. And if you join us over on Patreon, I want to say we're pretty close to, we're almost, with all the little Patreon short episodes and some other stuff, I want to say we're kind of nearing 100 episodes over there. So.
Oh, jeez.
So we got a lot of stuff going on. Lots of good stuff.
We are a prolific pod.
We are, yes. This month is our Teenagers Month, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Real Genius is our Patreon for Patreon exclusive episode for members over there. Patreon short is Angus from 1995. Then our regular episodes are Mallrats, Clueless, Back to the Future, Dangerous Minds, and Empire Records. So we've got a lot of really good stuff. Our Teenagers theme for this month. And then we're getting pretty close to the end of this month. And then next episode, we're going to reveal what our next slate of movies is for the month of April. So
nice.
Pat, I hope you have I'm trying to think of like when this episode is going to come out, and maybe it's in the middle of our spring break. So I hope you have a really good spring break.
Yeah, man. John, I just thought of it. Question 3, I've got an answer.
What's your answer?
I think I'm going to need to rely on you and your Googling skills.
Okay.
There was a restaurant when we were last up in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities. It's a restaurant owned, and all of the food is in of some of the indigenous nations from that area. And the restaurant has won a ton of awards from like all over the world. It's like you would have to get like yourself on the waiting list. Because I asked my cousin who lives up there, I said, hey, there's this restaurant. It looks fantastic. And it's all like Native American food.
Is it called Awamni?
Yes.
Okay.
And I read about it. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to go to this restaurant like now. And she's like, my cousin's like, yeah, us too. The thing is, you got to get on like a waiting list for a couple of months because it is just so popular. And it has been, it was given a whole bunch of awards, like international level acclaim. So yes, it's called Awamni. I just like it from a kind of a food that I haven't had a lot of, but I want to explore. Some of the ingredients and way that they make the food, I think would appeal to my taste buds. And yeah, I'm just, yes. So there we go. I'm answering the question. I'm not rejecting your question. Awamni would be my answer.
Nice. So along those same lines, when I was in Denver, maybe a couple of years ago, I'd gone to this restaurant, and I'm maybe pronouncing it wrong, Tokabi.
Okay.
It was called Tokabi, an American Indian eatery, and they had, and the food was really good. What did I ended up having the bison taco and the fry bread nuggets.
There it is.
It was so good.
Awesome.
So good. So yeah, if anybody's in the Denver area and you want to check that one out, that one's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is going to do it for this one. Patrick, again, have a wonderful, wonderful spring break. I think we're all looking forward to a little rest.
Oh, yes.
A little rest, a little relaxation, and then we're going to get back at it.
Oh, yes.
But, we'll be back here again next week with Empire Records. So everybody, get your vinyl ready, and it'll be Rex Manning Day. So Get ready for it.
Jeez.
Say no more, mon amour. That's also French, by the way. It's a lot of French this episode.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. Patrick, you take care of yourself.
John, you as well.
All right. Everybody, we'll see you back here next time. Be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here.
Bring the lights down low, it's time to show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen.